So, ready to fall in love with your life? Ready to live your best life possible? Ready to remember that anything is possible for you and that you deserve and are worthy of the greatest experiences you could ever think of? Then join me in this conversation with our next guest. Kacka Pastorkova, I'm so excited that you have agreed to be on my podcast. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Do you want to say your beautiful name in the beautiful accent that you have, please?
Okay, so officially my name, like in properly Czech language, it is Kacka Pastorkova, but
Beautiful.
you know, it definitely in English it sounds in all different varieties, so it's all good.
Language is definitely a muscle memory in the jaw. I don't have that, so we definitely need you to say it, yeah. But thank you so much for agreeing to be on my podcast, because so I met you 2015, so coming up on 7 years ago. You trained me at one of my first jobs in Canada at what we were doing, front desk agent.
Yep.
My first time working in a hotel. I obviously came from customer service, but yeah, and my impression of you was like, this woman is so sweet, so open, so loving, so kind, and I was just so grateful you were my trainer.
Thank you.
And yeah, and just I'm glad we've been able to stay connected. And here we are, 6 years later. I'm sitting in your beautiful living room, dining room, like open space house on a 60-acre property in north end of Vancouver Island. It's just amazing to be here. So I'm just so excited that I can talk to you and like ask you, how did you get here, you know? So first question I always start off with people is, do you love your life? Are you in love with your life?
Yes.
You are, yes?
Yeah, definitely.
And what do you love the most about your life?
I think that's a very specific question. I don't have a very specific answer, right? Because, you know, like I feel like that it always go with up and downs.
Yeah.
And it's just like important to concentrate on the up part. And always if you are down, just keep going and say it's down because I need to see that I'm going to go back up. Yeah. So I don't have anything very, very specific. I just feel that I'm very, very happy and that we are living now where we are, and that we were kind of like, you know, following our dreams, and we got the opportunity to actually kind of fulfill them more than we would have ever expected, especially like at that part of our age. We were thinking that maybe it would have happened in the next 20 years, right? Like, and actually we were able to purchase this property, which is our dream property, and kind of follow the next steps around it. It's definitely not always sweet and easy. Yeah. But yeah, it's very exciting.
So I think that that approach of life is ups and downs. You have your highs and lows, but to focus on the highs and know that when you're in the lows, it will go back up. Yep. That's, I think, a crucial mindset for creating a life that you love. And I've heard that with my two previous guests now, that same kind of mindset. So I'm finding a thread here in these interviews. But so would you say that you've always, I mean, you could say that's an optimistic kind of like approach to life. Yep. Would you say you've always been like that? Or would you say that you developed generally that's your demeanor? Is that what kind of family you came from? Like your parents were?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. And I always have been that way, that I always have been trying to find more the most fun part about what is happening rather than diving down into the darkness and like kind of like why this is happening to me, like if something bad is happening, versus being like, okay, this is happening now, but it's like means that I'm down and I only can go from here, I can go back up. And then like, you know, even we live in this beautiful property and we are basically living our dream, we still have bad days. Yes. We still kind of sometimes feel, is it too much?
I would imagine you could get overwhelmed by the responsibility of this space.
Yes, for sure. And it's, you know, it's for us in the first year too, so it's lots of finding actually the wheels to make it all spin on the right speed and all the wheels spinning at the same time. Totally. So it's definitely can be challenging and upsetting sometimes. Yeah. But it's always like important to realize like this is the dream. Yeah. This is actually the dream I have been always dreaming about. And for sure in the dreams it seems everything way more sweeter than when you are in the reality after.
Yeah, reality is Way different, yeah. Totally.
But yeah, it just always come back to, okay, this is actually my dream, and I'm honored to be here. So
yeah. So that's great. So you're not dwelling in why is this happening to me? Why don't I feel great? You know, it's almost like with babies, you know, and they get upset and you're like, quick, like distract them, like refocus their attention basically onto something that settles them. Like that is basically how we can treat ourselves like babies, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. That's a good like actual supportive tool to have, you know?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, have you ever had an experience in your life? So you're in your 30s, right?
Yes.
Like in the 30s? I think we're the same age. 36?
33.
Oh, okay, you're younger than me.
It's 3 years. It's
Yes,
like nothing. It's like a couple months there or there.
So have you ever had a time in your life, in your 33 years, where you did go into a dark period, where you felt a little like you didn't belong, things aren't really working out for me, I'm not happy? Like, did you ever have that kind of time in your life?
We definitely, well, I cannot say if I think about it that way as a dark period. I do not have any dark period on my mind, like just like, you know, darkness.
Yeah.
But we definitely, especially with Matt, we went through some challenging times, which were especially at the beginning of our relationship, because basically...
And Matt's your husband.
Matt is my husband,
and
yes.
you guys have been married for...
10 years now.
10 years.
It's going to be 10 years this year.
Oh, wow. So you were young, too, when you guys got married.
Yes, I was young, yeah. And I was basically, at that time, I was in Canada on working holidays when we met. And I was just, my visas were finishing at that time. And I was kind of hoping to stay for only a few more months. And I just went through breakup. And it's a whole romantic story. If anybody ever might want to make a movie about it, I think it would be a great, like, just a story for that. Basically, I just broke up with a boyfriend with which one I came here from Czech Republic. Didn't plan to get into any relationship at all. And I was staying just for a few extra months, working on my visas. In the meantime, I met Matt. And I was like, oh, this guy, it's lots of fun, but I'm not ready for any serious relationship, like la la la. Yeah. Anyhow, ended up that 3 months later we got married together because I was supposed to be deported. And at the same time, when we got to the point, he really wanted to, like, he was like, if you're gonna leave, I'm gonna move with you to Czech Republic.
Wow.
And I didn't want him to leave his business here just for moving to Czech Republic. So I was like, so basically we ended up getting married together. And it was kind of, at that time, it was, what am I doing again? But at that time I told to myself, well, I have a person here with which one I like to spend the time. Right now I don't have anything waiting for me at home. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, what I would rather see in my life, if I decided not to get married with him and leave right now, maybe I would be for the rest of my life always having in my head, what if? Yes. What if I got married with him and if it would have worked out? So I rather went with the choice of, I like him, we enjoy spending time together. I don't know if it's for 4 years of relationship or if it's going to be just a few months. But even if it doesn't work out, we won't be the first people ever getting divorced.
Yes.
So that was my approach at that time. And definitely because I had to wait for my paperwork, so I was couldn't really work full time, couldn't work at a time, and it was very hard, I feel like, for us because we just moved basically together. I was waiting for my paperwork. I didn't really know if I did the right choice or not. So at that time I had a lot of thoughts, but I was like, okay, maybe I should have go home. I should have, go back to what I know, where I am, and I know that language, and I can do basically any job, or kind of have the more security, just the stability from what you know, versus being here in completely unknown what's gonna unfold. Yeah. So that was definitely, I feel like that was one of the hardest times for us. And since then we grow so much. Yeah. And it will be now 10 years. So that's probably what comes to me, like kind of the dark, unknown time, really, when you are not sure what's going to happen, what's going to come. Yeah. And you really have no clue if you did the right decision or if you basically went completely the wrong way.
Well, Okay, and sitting here 10 years later, that's incredible to hear that story, because I wish you guys could see this house that I'm sitting in right now. It is so open, and like the windows are there's so many windows, it's bright, it's like spacious. It's amazing to hear that story, because like that was a starting point. I don't know if this is going to work out, sitting here. It worked out, I would say. It worked out. That's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. It's that point too of like, it's easy to fall back into a routine that you know, and not to want to like push yourself to try something new. But that's like, you know how they say like growth is outside your comfort zone, you know, and that's really, so that's incredible. That point about asking yourself, okay, am I going to regret this 10 years from now? That is such a great reference question. And me and Andrew have had so many conversations like that, where there's like fear of doing something because it's like fear of failure, fear it's not going to be the right choice. But it's like you get experience in that, and you get to see yourself in something new. And like it is that point of, if you don't do it, you won't know, and you will be in the same position you're in. Whereas if you're willing to just try it and it doesn't work out, you have gained all this experience, and now you know for sure. And I think that's like so cool that you came to that conclusion, you know, or like that's how you like processed your life and stuff, you know. And it have been basically kind of the question every time, like before we moved here and we were able to buy this dream property, we basically went through, I think, 4 properties, like buying and selling. So it all started with little, like our first apartment was literally like about the size of the playroom. What is the size of the playroom now? That was our first apartment, which we were buying in Squamish in like 2013, like 14 maybe, like a year and a half, let's say, after we got married. And I basically had a set-up job at that time, and everything was like going the right direction. And it was funny because at that time we were living in Whistler the whole time, and all of our friends were in Whistler, and everybody at that time was like, what are you doing, guys? Why are you buying? Because it was after the market crash, like, and everything was coming back up. Everybody was like, why are you buying now? Everything is now getting like so expensive. And we're like, well, even if we buy the 1-bedroom little apartment, we will still be paying the same money as we are paying in rent to somebody in Whistler. And that was our motivation for that. And we will be owning it. And we didn't see before, like, we hope that we will have some return from it in the future, that it will gain some value, but it's so unpredictable, right? And it have been every single time we sold and we bought the new property, the next property, that have been every time. For example, when we bought our last property in Pemberton, which was our 3rd property, basically we went to apartment, from apartment we went to a townhouse in Squamish, from townhouse in Squamish we went to house in Pemberton. When we bought a house in Pemberton, we were like, okay, this is it. This is the final point. Like, Pemberton will never ever get any crazy increase in value. It's just a small village, right? And like we were like thinking, that's it. That's kind of the final stage. But also at the same time, when we were living there, we know that it's not the thing we want for forever ever. That it's not the ideal. But at the same time, there were like no resources to get to something like this. But just like we kind of kept looking and kind of keep our minds open for location. Just like, you know, I feel like that you cannot be stuck like being like, okay, I'm living now in Whistler and I want everything. If you are stuck on Whistler and Whistler is the heart for your life and you will do anything to live in Whistler, it's completely fine. I'm not saying that's the wrong, but for us it was like we want to have no neighbors. And that was kind of our driving point for being open to basically go to Vancouver Island or go to Quebec or go to whenever we need to go to find what we want. So it didn't matter where, it was just like, this is the feel we want.
I think so,
and that point of being open and not being too stuck on it has to be this way, it has to play out this way. I'm a big advocate on that too, because I think when you give room to life to kind of like lead you and guide you, it can do amazing things. Like, I'm sure you didn't have this visualized for yourself.
No.
But like, you've been here for a year, so it's probably not a big deal to you, but I'm still like, it's so beautiful. And like, to me, it's like, it's just incredible. So also that point of, it took steps. This is not like an instant. This is a 10-year process to get here. So it's that point of like life can move slow and like learning how to walk that pace of like. So how long, you told me the story a little bit about how this property came about, but when did you guys first, like when did you guys, after you moved to Pemberton, like when did you guys start saying, okay, I think we want to maybe look at something else now?
We always kind of like, because we have been in the real estate kind of like watching properties just by habit, because we bought and sold 3 times.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of were still getting the automatic like email messages of like what is up for sale and stuff.
Yeah.
So we always have been talking about what we like, what we prefer. But I think that at one point, like actually before yeah, it was actually before we came here. This property was as a short-term rentals, was running as a vacation rentals. Basically, the suite where you were staying. Yeah. That's where we stayed here the first time when we came here. We were at that point, I think, because we just like Natalie was just born, our child was just born. We were basically just like set up that we are staying in Pemberton because we thought, oh, we are nearby the schools. We even invested money. We got a swimming pool for the house and kind of like set it up more the way we wanted it. Yeah. And at that time we were like set up, we are staying basically for next 5-10 years. Who knows? We still had a dream of what we want, the acreage, but we were like, okay, we are most likely staying here now. We have a child. Yeah. You know, things will not move that fast as they used to when we were just 2 of us. Yeah. And that was the time when Matt found this online just for sale, but it was in an amount of money which we were not able to source anywhere. Yeah. But I was like, at one point I was like, oh, you know, wherever it's summertime, let's just go for vacation. Yeah. And let's just explore Savor in North Vancouver Island, where we never have been before. Yeah. So we came here for 3 nights, I think, and we just loved that property. Like in the summertime, the sandy white beach, like it was just us basically on a private sandy white beach with a little shallow water and some swimming holes, and it was so lovely. Yeah. And so we fell in love with it, and it's stuck in our heads, in our minds for quite a bit. And when we returned to Pemberton, we're like, well, let's just try. Let's just try to offer them what we can afford and see what will be their reaction back. Yeah. So the first time when we made the first offer on this place, which was for sale, it didn't go through. Yeah. Because there was at that same time somebody else was giving them offer way higher, but they wanted to build it into resort, but they didn't do their homework because this is agricultural land, so it's not possible. Anyways, at that time there was somebody else interested in the same time offering way more money. Yeah. But actually it wasn't possible. Yeah. Anyhow, so at that time I'm like, okay, it's not meant to be, it's okay. Yeah. Just keep moving on, right? Living our life, like that's keep going with the plan that we are staying in Pemberton. We have our good home, like we are secured. We don't have to move away. Yeah. And so it stayed, and basically in the next few months, like I was watching still the real estate market in Pemberton. Matt had a very good year with his business, and like December, November, I was like, I think we should try like to see what we can do now. What is like financially, that was kind of my initiative, because the previous sales and buys was usually Matt, which was like the one pusher of like, let's sell now. Yeah. Let's switch, let's like flip it again. Yeah. And this time it was me, and I was like, I feel like that we can probably now get it done. I was like, oh, I'm not sure, we should wait after New Year's. Anyways, we ended up basically giving them offer at the beginning of December, and they accepted our offer. Wow. So, and that time, and we had to sell our home over the Christmas time last year. Wow. And everything was like just moving week by week. Yeah. And everything has to be done. So by March, we were moving here last year. At the end of March, we moved here.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's Nat's second birthday, around her time of her second birthday.
Just like 3 days after her second birthday, we were moving over here. Yeah. So
that was like what day was that? Do you remember?
30th of March, 29th of March, I think.
So my water broke and I was going into labor with my baby. Yeah. That's amazing. 2 big life events happen.
Yeah, but it was kind of like interesting that at that time I was actually the one who was pushing for a little bit more, that I had the feeling that we can get it done, and it was still in our heads. And the property was still 6 months later, was basically still for sale. Yeah. And it all ended up happening.
Lined up.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that, because it's so like in the last, I would say 8 months, have really kind of shifted my perspective about life and like came into some really striking realizations for myself as a mother. You know, I'm a new mother, and like just I feel like my whole like my heart opened up, and like the way I approached life was just like all of a sudden it was old thinking I had, but that I had let kind of go dormant for a decade, and it just like came back alive. And so when I'm hearing like you talk about like, oh, we tried to do this, but it didn't work out, and oh, it's not meant to be, like that's in line with what I started to look at too. Like things are so specific, you know, like things have this like perfect timing and like alignment, and like it's amazing because you think there's 7 billion people on this planet, but every single person has such a unique like relationship to life and how things move. And so I feel tempted to just dig a little deeper into like your spirituality, religion. Like do you have like where do you stand with like that stuff?
I never really have been.
Do you have any kind of like practice?
It's funny because I just started recently meditating and like diving a little bit into meditation and like opening my mind kind of in different ways too.
Yeah.
I always have been kind of open-minded, but basically I would say I grew up in nature. Like we had a like basically cottage, so I have been really spending lots of time in nature. So I always like, you know, have been like I'm close to kind of the rural style living when you have your vegetables and your food, everything from your garden. So kind of like I feel like that I'm close to the kind of a nature and the flow of life in nature.
Yes.
But I never have any spiritual, like, didn't really have any beliefs. I have been open-minded and following common sense.
Yes.
Open-minded and following common sense. That's how I would have described myself.
Amazing.
For the most of my life.
Yeah.
Without any, but like I never have been, let's say, like into yoga a lot or meditations or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just now starting to kind of add in a little bit of things.
Yeah.
But in like slow manner. But yeah, it definitely like opening my eyes a little bit more to different kind of energies and vibrations and
yes. Well, it's interesting because I think that the natural world, nature, is like the most like attuned, harmonious like expression of life on earth, right? And that's who we are. That's our natural expression is nature, you know? So the fact that that's where you come from makes sense, that like you haven't had to do, like people meditate and do yoga to get themselves like in alignment, but like you can just be in nature too and play. And even that mindset of like looking for the fun, like where can I have the most fun here? You said that, I was like, brilliant. Like that's exactly it. Like I feel like there is such an ease and flow to life that there's not a lot of effort or pushing or forcing. There is like a surrender, and like that is when you really like you're like can really get yourself into the flow and the current of life that is like abundant and thriving, you know? So I think that's so cool that you haven't had to do much in terms of like, I mean, Andrew's the same way. He comes from 5 acres out, you know, and with the garden and you know, killing their own food and growing their own food, and like just that connection to nature, I feel like is what creates the best alignment for us, you know? So that's awesome to hear that. But also like that you're getting into meditation, and I've also started meditating in the last 8 months, and I would say I always had a very open mind, but then I also became very strict on certain ideas that I was practicing, which led me back to like my like reopening my mind to everything. And it's been amazing how things move when you're in that flow, you know? Yeah.
That's great. It's awesome.
It's incredible. I just will tell you, so I grew up, like I was baptized Catholic, and there's Christianity in my family, and then my mom was very spiritual. But sitting in your room right now, there's these windows and this like, what is that called? The
vaulted ceiling.
Vaulted ceiling. It's very church-like to me. I feel like I'm in a holy room that we should be praying.
You can do whatever you want to do. It's fully open to anything.
You guys could totally put some, what's it, the glass mirror, colored glass.
Colored glass.
I don't know what it's called, but
I know exactly what you mean. Stained glass.
Stained glass, It's very like, it's like a Holy Communion happening here. I love it. I love it because it's just like, yeah, it's just a very easy flow. Like you didn't have to go through a lot of hard times to get. I mean, obviously we have our personal like struggles that we go through, but like overall there is such an ease, a sense of ease and flow to you that is just like incredible, and it makes sense that, you know,
Thank you.
this is what you would create, an environment that has this ease and flow and this. Obviously, I'm not trying to make light of life. It can be very, you know, challenging and like really push you to your limits and make you like really dig deep into yourself. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's something very easy about this space and you know.
Nice.
When I first got here, after you gave us the tour of the property, I was so taken aback by like your graciousness and your loveliness, and like I just was like, and I almost felt like there was a point in me where I was like, I felt a little undeserving, and it was like I was so happy to see that, because I could see this is something I still have to be able to like lift myself up to, that like, you know, I'm here sitting alongside this being, speaking to her, and her graciousness is my graciousness, and her loveliness is my loveliness. Like that's what, you know, the law of attraction, like the, you know, when you get in alignment, like, so I'm excited to be here because it's just, I feel like this space is what I've been cultivating in myself even, you know, so to experience just 3 days of it is so exciting for me, because I feel like this is a part in my path that shows where I'm at and where I've been, what work I've been doing, you know. So it's just amazing for me too, you know, to be here.
That's great. That's amazing. And that's, I kind of feel like that's our, you know, when you were asking us one of the questions, you were asking me like, what is the like future plan like with the property, or kind of, I just feel like that like also we are just happy that we can make our like like have enough of income coming from something what we enjoy doing, which is everybody's dreams come true, right?
Of course,
and that we can share something like this with other people. I just feel like it brings in like so much joy, because at the beginning we have been of course nervous, because we never have been living in Savored. We didn't know, are we gonna be attracting enough of traffic? Is it gonna be working out? But yeah, usually everybody just like feels the place like something what is very positive. And we basically never had anybody who said, oh, this is the most terrible place I have ever been to.
Of course,
It usually goes exactly the opposite way. And just to be able to share it with people, it's bringing us the, you know, it's the joy of being able to do what we want to do, but at the same time it's bringing the like the option to relax and like being able to share with other people.
Of course,
it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are always super happy when we hear people that they really enjoy it, and it was you know something what like was the highlight of your traveling, of your vacation. Like that's
absolutely. And I think that is a byproduct of when you are in such alignment with your own life, and you're following your joy, and you're following fun, and you have this easygoing approach. I feel like the byproduct is you're so filled with like how good life is that you have nothing but to like it's like that your cup runneth over. Like you're so fulfilled, you have more to share with other people, you know? And I think that's the beauty about like really getting in alignment with the natural flow of life, which is this thriving like expression that it naturally then creates more for others. And then other people are like, oh, this is a part of life that I can actually experience, and I can create this for myself, you know? So it's amazing. It's like a plant that produces a little fruit that has so many more seeds inside of it, and now it can create so much more plants from that and food, you know? So it's like, that's nature too. It's like everything is naturally self-sustaining, and, you know, what it creates more of, you know? Last question is, what do you do daily to kind of like keep yourself in tune and like grounded, and like how do you support yourself every day to like just like keep yourself?
I wouldn't say it happens every day, but basically like always what might have been thing to do or to go to is just go and take a walk. And here it's basically because we have the chickens, it's just the way that you have to go out to the chicken coop and walk outside, breathe in the fresh air, say hi to the chickens, and like see your animals, kind of just that. It's kind of the highlight of the day, which I'm not always excited about. I'm not always looking forward to it because I have to do other stuff around. But it's one of the things that, like, when we are just able to walk outside and get a fresh air, or just at the end of the day, like in the summertime, you can just sit here watch the sunset, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So I'm not necessarily doing something, even though now I'm trying to be on the meditation and try to do meditations every day. But that have been just a recent change in my life, so I cannot say that this is really what I do because it have been recently. But yeah, walks in the nature, I would say, or just in the summertime, in the springtime, when I can go outside, plant some seeds, being in the garden. When you just go and pick up your fresh herbs from the garden in the evening when you are cooking your dinner and stuff like that. That's just the little tiny things, which make it extra better.
Absolutely. Okay, last question. If you were talking to someone who is feeling like things don't really work out for them and they're feeling frustrated and things, just don't flow and like they just don't have, that optimism or hope, like what would you say to someone like that?
When I get in situation, I feel that way. And if I feel like really like it's terrible, and I don't really know how to cope with it, I found my forever kind of a mantra or saying in my life. I've been saying never say never. That was one of the things. But now I also added to it that sometimes things have to go for the new things to come in.
Yes.
So that's kind of my two things. Never say never, to always stay open to new things. Because sometimes we can really settle and stay comfortable in stillness, which is not getting us anywhere either way. And I think sometimes it's important to progress. But also, yes, if something terrible happens and you really feel there's no way out of it, or you don't know how to get over it, I just feel like that, sometimes some things have to go for the new things to come in.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's, wildfires in the forest, it gives such, a fresh start to what's left,
Yes,
absolutely. Great. That's amazing. Short and sweet. I feel like it was so good. So good. So thank you so much for agreeing and for letting us come and enjoy this beautiful space. And you will see us a lot.
Oh no, you're welcome anytime. Just message me anytime you want to come back. We'll be so happy to have you back.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kacka, for having us and for agreeing to be on my podcast and to share such a wonderful message for our listeners. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that life doesn't have to be that serious. It can be an easygoing approach. You can, life doesn't have to be so serious. Really, just life doesn't have to be so serious. And there's always a different way to look at things to have a different experience in your life. Like Kat was mentioning, never say never. If you're feeling low, it can only go up. And, sometimes you do have to let things go in order to create a new. And so these are just such simple, principles and perspectives to have and apply in your own life to make sure that you're continuing to move and flow. Like she said, sometimes being in the stillness isn't always the best thing for us. And I think of running water is the cleanest. And so whatever we're able to do to support ourselves to keep moving, keep flowing, keep living, keep expressing, keep learning, keep, experiencing the fullness of life in all aspects with all people. I think that's the best thing we can do for ourselves in our lives and our process of development and growth and, creating our utmost potential. So thanks for listening and being here and walking with, and we will see you next time.